There are three kinds of people: dicks, pussies, and assholes. I'm Lugia, the dick.
I'm Red Drum Arts, the asshole.
Matt Damon.
And welcome
Hey,
to
yeah, welcome as always. Welcome
Always
as
Sunny
always.
in America.
Yeah, America. Um,
We're a little more general this time around.
yeah, Patrick,
Matt
why
Damon.
don't you actually say your name?
Fine. Patrick, Matt Damon. No, just Patrick.
Patrick Damon.
Pat Damon. Okay. Today we're gonna be talking about Team America: World Police, the puppet movie directed by Trey Parker and written by both him and Matt Stone of South Park fame. Probably their maybe second most famous non-South Park related venture.
What would you say
Have you
their first
forgotten Book
was?
of Mormon?
Yeah, I'd say Book of Mormon is probably the most famous like non-South Park venture. But that depends because like Book of Mormon, that's like critically acclaimed. But I feel like obviously because it's a play, more people have seen Team America. So yeah, who knows?
I don't know. I know. I heard of Book of Mormon before I heard about Team America.
The thing is like I think everyone knows the America Fuck Yeah song and like
Well, yeah, but I didn't know. I didn't know what that was. I didn't
iconic.
know what that was from until years later.
Fair enough, but like I know of Book of Mormon, but I know literally nothing about it.
Same here. I just know that it existed.
I know it exists. I know it won like a billion Tonys, and it's like up there with like the producers. Is considered like one of the best comedies on Broadway. But yeah. All right, so Team America: World Police came out in 2004, so very familiar year on this show. We've talked about, actually, have we talked about this year before?
Yeah,
Yeah, Spider-Man 2.
it's
Yeah,
not. It's not 2002 or 2006, but we've talked about 2004.
I mean,
yeah,
Spider-Man 2 was just kind of shoehorned in.
yeah. But okay.
And Resident Evil Apocalypse came out in 2004.
Okay, well, there you go. That's one.
Oh, the
And
Village.
the village.
The
Yeah, the
Village.
village.
Yeah, okay.
But
Yeah.
honestly,
Also,
who's keeping track?
Yeah, but
of
We only
also,
keep track of 2006. That's the important one.
2006 is
Well,
nostalgia.
yeah, but also, I think 2004 is like the year of my nostalgia because like here are the movies that came out in 2004 that I consider some of the like these are defining movies. The Incredibles, Dawn of the Dead, Spider-Man 2, Shrek 2, the SpongeBob movie, Mean Girls, the only Harry Potter movie I like. So
I'm not saying
those are the big
2004 isn't nostalgic. I'm just saying for me, 2006 is when I actually started to remember things.
Yeah, I'm saying 2004 is like that's the first year of my memory is probably my one I'm super nostalgic for. Oh, also Shark Tale. How could we forget the most iconic movie of the year?
Tell us about it,
Um,
Lugia.
All right, so as we said already, this was made by the South Park guys, Trey Parker and Matt Stone. I'm not really super into South Park. I've seen a couple episodes here and there. Red is more of the South Park expert out of the three of us.
South Park was its history is actually a little bit interesting, and I guess I'll just talk about because kind of the history of their careers. But basically, there were a bunch of people that they just happened to take a film class, and they ended up really liking it, and that's how they became friends. And then one day they made this little uh basically the pilot of South Park was this Christmas card that they just made for a friend, and said friend uploaded it online, and it became one of the first sort of viral videos. And I noticed this happens a lot with animation where like some viral video will happen and a TV exec will be like, you know what, I'm gonna give him a chance. And I wonder if that's just because like you need to have like a base level competency in animation that you maybe wouldn't need
Not
for
just
live action.
animation, lest we forget Fred.
See, Fred is like generally like a very rare exception. Like I specifically mentioned animation because animation it happens a lot. Fred was like a one-time deal. The only other YouTuber like Fred that really got a show is Miranda Sings, but Miranda Sings is like she actually has like industry connections. Like she literally is like one of Ariana Grande's friends. Like, yeah, no shit, she could probably get a show if she tried. She's best friends with like one of the most famous people in the world. Like, what a shock. But like I bring up animation because like I don't know, a lot of Adult Swim shows, even The Simpsons, they were just like they're like people that made like comics and then they just got picked up. Like a lot of people that worked on Ren and Stimpy were just comic artists that got picked up, and then you got like a couple web shows. Some of the people, a lot of animation thing was started rooted in web, and then there's a lot of web shows that people that made web shows that made TV. Current famous examples, Smiling Friends. I know some of the Edgeworld people they were offered a show, but they turned it down, and there's been cases like that too. But like I I just find it interesting. The animation, I think, is like the most successful translation into mainstream success from online success because again, like if you to animate, you need to have like a decent amount of like skill like in multiple fields, and also you need to be able to kind of put together a project because like you're going to work with more than one person in it. So I just wonder if maybe that's why uh studios are more like willing to give a chance to an animated person who started online versus someone who didn't start out animation online.
You guys remember Flipnote Hatena on DSi?
I do.
Yes.
I wonder if there's any TV show out there that got picked up because somebody made a Flipnote that some executive saw and was like, "Hey, this is like the shit."
There isn't a show, but there are a couple animators who did get hired because of that, like
Okay.
professional animate. Like it's weird. Like there are a
'Cause the
lot.
stuff people did on Flipnote Hatena is honestly unbelievable.
You'd be surprised how many not Flipnote artists, but Newgrounds artists. They're just animators working in the industry now. Like shit. Do you know how many people animate on like SpongeBob now that started out on Newgrounds and Flipnotes? Kind of off topic. But yeah, they started out basically made a short film, got lucky, got the show picked up, and they had this sort of revolutionary idea where they would basically make a new episode every week, like live, so it would be able to commentate on the new world. And that's while a lot of people have argued that that's kind of many of the worst episodes of the shows are the ones that were trying to commentate on new events, just because obviously things can age poorly. It is very much the gimmick that made South Park stand out, and their political commentary kind of became like a defining part of their image in the 2000s, which is relevant to this film because this film is probably one of their only really like extensive planned out projects that they made that was commentating on like a modern political event because again South Park's every week, but they have other projects where they like plan stuff out, but like Book of Mormon, that was a much more like broad attack on like religion and stuff like that, and the South Park movie is very much a attack on censorship and like their video games. Those are like much more broad theme. So I found this one interesting because it's very much commentating something topical, but they clearly put in much more like time and thought than they do for their like regular weekly episodes. That's the most of the South Park background I can give on. Why don't you guys
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
talk about the other stuff?
So, this movie had a budget of $32 million and it made 51 million, which is not really all that great, unfortunately.
Yeah, but it apparently had a lot of success on like serialization and like this is back when like you could actually make money off DVD sales. So apparently it is considered a financial success, but just like a minor one, not like a huge one.
Yeah.
I know this movie was also partially inspired by the old TV show Thunderbirds, and you guys said you know nothing about that show.
I've heard of
I'm,
it.
yeah, I've heard of Thunderbirds. I've never actually watched it.
My parents showed it to me a long time ago. That's the end of that sentence. I don't remember much. I remember it was puppets, and obviously, like that's the one thing that really stood out to me about it. I don't remember anything else.
Yeah.
This movie
I know.
was inspired by Thunderbirds. In fact, Parker and Stone were going to acquire the rights to Thunderbirds to make a movie on it until they found out that what they were working on was a live action version and they didn't want to go through with that because that wasn't interesting.
What I
Mm,
found funny is apparently they don't even like the show
They don't.
Thunderbirds, which is interesting that they would want to try to make a movie out of it.
I assume it's because it used puppets, which is a unique concept.
but what I actually find interesting is
Well, marionettes specifically.
Well, yeah.
see the fact that you guys bring up that they didn't actually like Thunderbirds is funny to me because the movie that this reminded me the most of when watching it was Starship Troopers, which that was famously an adaptation of a book called Starship Troopers. But the director and writer of the film, they fucking hated the book. They did not like the book at all, and I just think that's like an interesting kind of coincidence that these two films are kind of like they have a kind of similar satirical bend to them, but and they both kind of come from this not really liking the source material that they're kind of riffing off of. I know Thunderbirds got an anime adaptation, which is interesting, which
Really?
kind of yeah, which I guess makes a little bit of sense because it does kind of have like some Voltron like elements for like all the different Thunderbird ships and stuff, and like maybe not Voltron, but like some mecha and space opera elements. So, yeah, that makes sense.
So tell
Yeah.
us, Lugia, what is Team America World Police all about? What's the hubbub?
So, Team America World Police deals with Team America World Police. Okay, no. So Team America is a group of, I guess, police that fight against terrorism all over the world. Why are they called Team America? Because America, fuck you. And
Yeah. Get it right. America.
and one of their recent operations takes place in Paris. They fight off terrorists, everything goes well until one of the team members, Carson, dies from a surprise attack. So enter Broadway actor Gary Johnston, because apparently he's the only one capable of taking care of terrorists because he's a really good actor.
Again, because he's like this all-American boy, but he's also a good actor.
And the rest of the movie is just Gary trying to fight for freedom, questioning his freedom while having to earn the trust of his other team members, one of whom really hates actors.
It's basically like a parody of like classic kind of 2000s Michael Bay action flicks. So like, G.I. Joe and like shit like that. Or Mission Impossible, like one of those like classic kind of spy flicks. So yeah, like the plot is basically just like a riff on that.
It's
Like,
incredibly
that's-
simple when you break it down, or at least from the core plot. I mean, there's a lot more to consider with a lot of the political commentary. The main appeal, though, is its presentation.
Yeah, I guess we should just really talk about the visuals because that's like
That's
most
the
important
biggest
part.
standout.
That's the main
thing.
hook.
But
Yeah.
there's a lot of funny visual jokes, a lot of funny editing choices, like how they like hang on some shots sometimes, or they'll like quickly cut. Really funny deliveries. The lines are really over the top, which kind of fits the kind of over the top look. And yeah, and obviously it just got classic situational comedy. So it kind of like balances between like a bunch of different comedy styles, but it balances it really well. There will be like at least like a few jokes that land for you, even if like you don't like a lot of it.
The biggest comparison I could think of is Airplane. Because there's a scene in this movie where it's an aerial combat sequence and they're talking to the commander in the control room. And whenever it cuts back to the commander, he's just sliding in his chair across the screen. At one point, they cut back to him. He's just on the ceiling sliding for no apparent reason. I'm like, that's a joke straight out of
Yeah.
Airplane. And I am
Yeah.
all for it.
I thought like commentary wise, it kind of reminded me of like Tropic Thunder. It kind of had like that kind of element with like the kind of dark humor, but like it has a satirical bent to it. So like it's not even like you're not even like that offended because like you understand like the point it's trying to make. But like
Would you say the
It's like a-
humor is similar to South Park?
no, because I'd say South Park definitely has like a more grounding to it, and there's the contextual thing because this very much feels like almost like I brought up whatchamacallit, Starship Troopers because the idea of Starship Troopers that is basically like a fictional propaganda film, and that's what this kind of feels like. This feels almost like a propaganda film, but like a parody of it, where it's like, oh, America's the best, America's all this. If you
Okay.
ever remember like College Humor's like The Adventures of Kim Jong-un cartoon or whatever. I'd say like this is honestly more in line with Moral Oral than it is South Park, which like those are similar shows, but like yeah.
And speaking of Kim Jong-un, we actually have Kim
His dad.
Jong-il. Yeah. And
Yeah.
because of
secret
his
villain.
portrayal in this movie, it's banned.
In North Korea, yeah. that makes
Yeah.
sense. Just like the interview with James Franco.
So Ronry.
A lot of musical sequences in this.
This movie caught me off guard because the first scene in the movie is, this big action scene in Paris, and then the very next scene, an AIDS musical number.
Yeah, it's
They say
it's edited
AIDS like 100.
They say AIDS more times than they say fuck.
I am impressed by that, considering, Matt Stone and Trey Parker really like to push how much profanity they can use. But no, they only say the F word like a few times.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Like when the first, I remember at one point, like a character said the F word, and like we just like realized, like, man, we had not heard that in like such a long time, and it was like,
No,
huh.
a lot of the
The
humor,
Film
though,
Actors Guild is the F word.
No, it's the
Oh
other
yeah,
F word.
yeah. So
No,
there's
they say cock, balls, dick, pussy. They say those things way more than they do the F word.
they actually have like this great bit with one of the characters where there's this one character who really hates the main character. So every once in a while he'll like say an insult, but the insult's the most like over the top thing. Is like I'm gonna rip off your
I'm
dick,
gonna rip off your dick
balls.
and shove it up your ass so you can
That
shit
would-
on your dick.
I do find funny though how like they kind of balance like over the top and serious. Like the sucking your dick joke, that was really over the top. But like later on when they when they kind of bring it back up, it's like, well, why can we trust him? Is like because they sucked my dick.
It's
And then
actually
they're-
used
then
as a
they're-
plot device.
It's not just as using the plot device, but they like the reaction is just so funny. But they all just like kind of blankly just stare for a bit, and then they're like, okay, and then they just move on. Like, okay, you know what? That's good enough. We're gonna accept that. Part of it reminded me of like Scary Movie almost, where like it's so over the top with its offensiveness, where you're not like even offended by it because it's just so ridiculous. Where you're just like, okay, like
That's the thing. That's where the humor comes from. It's so ridiculous, but the characters take it so seriously. That's what makes it funny. I say, like,
Um,
again, Airplane.
yeah. Speaking of airplane related humor, one of the musical sequence is about Pearl Harbor, not the event, the movie,
The
where
movie.
they just
Yeah.
like
It's
and that's
basically
like
just a whole riff on Pearl Harbor.
yeah, and it's one like and it's a joke that's actually like really funny if you don't know about the Pearl Harbor movie because like the joke is almost just he's just going on these like unrelated rants in the middle of a song. It's very similar to the Jack Sparrow song by Lonely Island, where like the point of that song is where they get one of the singers like they're just trying to make a love song. The one singer just keeps interjecting, talking about how much he loves Pirates of the Caribbean. That's basically like what this song is. Where it's like they're talking about this, but then they're like honestly, actually, that whole song feels like a little bit like No Lonely Island because Lonely Island still had a song where it's like, "Girl, I'm gonna fuck you," just like America fucked Bin Laden, and like metaphorically, and like so. Yeah, I actually say if you like any of the Lonely Island movies, you'd probably like this film because it's got a similar sense of humor, just like a little bit darker.
I recall you also said one of the ballad songs sounded like something out of the Muppets.
The "I'm So Lonely" one, yeah, that one
Yep.
sounded like
I'm so
because
lonely.
I can imagine like Kermit saying that like in Muppets Take Manhattan.
I'm
They're like,
so lonely. So
yeah,
lonely.
your Kermit impression is like shockingly good.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
I think it's better than like the guy who's currently doing the Kermit voice because he sounds like a little.
Well, whew,
You'll hire this man.
thank you.
Yeah, Disney hire him. Really funny. Towards the end, they have like a lot of like celebrity cameos. That's what the Matt Damon thing we were referencing earlier was because they have like an exaggerated version of every celebrity, but for Matt Damon, apparently they just have Matt Damon act like he has brain damage, and that's because they're actually friends with Matt Damon, so I guess they figured they can like make a joke like this, but they also when they made the puppet for Matt Damon, it came out like really really goofy, and instead of just remaking it or redesigning it, they figured let's just roll with it and just make him like really stupid. And like in the original script, he was actually meant to be like a super intelligent character, but they decided like just fuck it. It's kind of like how Monty Python, they had like a joke where Tim, his name is actually supposed to be really really long, but the guy forgot the line, so he just said Tim, and they're just like, you know what, that's funnier. We're just gonna go with that.
We could talk about the puppets for a second. All right, so the puppets are intentionally designed to be very cheap looking. Like
Yeah,
they barely
Very
emote anything.
uncanny.
They look very dead. Yeah, and I get
Yeah.
that's part of the joke. The one thing that threw me off though was the teeth. Because the mouths move, but the teeth don't.
For some puppets.
For some
Yeah,
puppets.
yeah. I
There's
find
this,
funny
there's like
like
one I think the Ken
kid-
Jeong puppet, he's the only one whose teeth actually move. And there's this one
that's
news
because like
reporter who just
his
straight
mouth
up
will, like
doesn't have any teeth.
yeah.
Like I don't know which of the three I'd prefer.
I think
But
it's
I don't know,
meant
it's
to
just
be
when
like that.
I guess, but I don't know. Every time they talked, I was just looking at their mouths. Like, do the teeth move this time? Do they not?
Oh, speaking of the goofiness of the puppets, there's two gags I think are really funny, only because it's with puppets, and that's obviously the sex scene, where they have this really over the top sex scene where they do just like a bunch of insane shit, but like it's with puppets. So,
In the middle,
obviously
I remember in the
it's
middle of that
goofy.
scene, Lugia, you turned to me and said, "Are you good?" Like, yeah. I mean, they're puppets.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
then
there's really nothing that
No, you just
it's
had
like a
this
fake.
awkward look on your face when we were watching that together.
Like, I'm just like, yeah, okay.
yeah,
All
and
right, we're
then
doing
there's
this. I mean,
and then there's the vomit scene where like that one's just funny because it goes on for so fucking long and they like exaggerate it so much where you're just like Jesus.
yeah, like
Or when the
on
puppets
principle.
die because you can't actually tell if they're dead. Like with Carson at the beginning.
His
Like he
eyes-
just looks the same as he did when he was alive.
He looks no different than when he's alive.
yeah.
But yeah, no, the vomit scene honestly really shouldn't have worked with how long
Right.
it went, but they played it off so well that it actually did get a good laugh.
It reminds me of like some jokes Family Guy does, where like they push it like so far, where after a while it crosses the threshold of like, okay, you're overstaying, or you're welcome to. Yeah, actually, never mind. This is hilarious. Apparently this film actually got an NC-17 rating due to the sex scene, which I thought was interesting. But like, even though it was like a bunch of fake puppets and it wouldn't offend anyone, they still gave it still gave it an NC-17, like it was R-rated or something.
You
I mean,
ever
like,
give like a 13-year-old a Barbie and Ken doll? That's what the scene was.
yeah, that was actually a joke in Family Guy once, where like
Wait, what?
there was a joke in Family Guy once where it was like Homer and Lois, they're having sex and they like cut away, and it was like, due to the graphic nature of this sex scene, we will not be depicting it. No, we'll be depicting it with action figures, and then it's like Dwayne the Rock Johnson gets like a Peter. It's Dwayne the Rock Johnson, and there's like a Lois action figure and a Peter action figure, and he just starts smashing the Peter action
Jesus
figure on Lois.
Christ.
Yeah, it's actually a funny joke. Like, I don't know, just one of the better Family Guy jokes. Due to FCC regulations, we cannot show the graphic intercourse. Due to FCC regulations, we cannot show graphic intercourse over the airways. Instead, Peter and Lois' sex scene will be simulated by Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, the freaking FCC.
You have anything else? Oh wait, shit.
What?
So because this is a 2004 political comedy, some things haven't aged all that well.
I agree, and also I disagree. We're like, it's very like blatantly offensive, but also I view it as very much as like a kind of criticism. Like a lot of like the stuff like depicting Muslims, I felt like was very much meant to be like a criticism of like a lot of like the movies at the time that were kind of depicting how they depicted like Muslims and whatnot. So that part didn't like throw me off that much, but
Not even that for me. There's a few
some of the
jokes with
thematic
Alec
events of
Baldwin.
that
Oh
movie.
yeah.
Like there's a
Oh.
scene where Alec Baldwin's like, everybody, grab a gun. I'm like, ooh.
There's a lot of gun jokes with Alec Baldwin, which wasn't funny back then, but it's really funny now.
Bad for Alec Baldwin. I actually like him. Good
Yeah,
actor.
no, I like 30 Rock and like Hunt for Red October and whatnot. And yeah, there's like a lot of jokes with like Alec Baldwin, because like they basically make him like the face of like the actors thing, and like the joke with him is like, oh, he's the greatest actor of all time, and like it's like a master versus
And then Gary
Steven
just gives a speech about dicks, assholes, and pussies, and that beats him.
Some of the thematic like things at the ends is a little, I get why that would whatchamacallit him, be considered kind of aging poorly.
You guys think George W. Bush has seen this movie?
Probably.
I did read up why he wasn't like in the movie, and either Trey Parker or Matt Stone said like, if you just take a walk 10 feet outside, you already got it.
Also, Matt Stone and Trey Parker literally made a TV show making fun of Bush. They ran for like one season, so like I think they were just
They're
saying
saving all their Bush jokes.
Yeah. I'm going through the whatchamacallit, the Wikipedia, and like I completely forgot about the Cats musical joke.
Oh yeah.
Like Chris is like, the
Oh
reason
yeah,
I
why
hate actors
what's his name has
because-
PTSD from actors.
Yeah, he is like, I hate actors because McCavity touched my butthole. I was like, Jesus Christ. I see that some of the celebrity jokes I feel like were kind of they were like a bit iffy, just because like they were like referencing like specific shit that doesn't like make much sense anymore.
There were some brutal deaths with some of those celebrities too.
Oh yeah, Jesus Christ, the explosions like effects are like insane.
Explosions, the flamethrower, the impalement.
At least Samuel L. Jackson calls someone a motherfucker.
Yeah, we were
That
like keep
checks
waiting
out.
for like the moment he
Just
said
waiting for the moment. When's he gonna say it? When's he gonna say it? There it is. Like waiting for Tom Cruise to run in a movie. It just
Yep.
the movie doesn't feel complete unless Samuel Jackson says motherfucker.
Oh, I think it's funny how they just had like two or three random Star Wars references in the film.
Oh
like, it's
yes,
so, like, I don't
yes.
know, they're,
With
like,
the cantina music.
Yeah.
You
They
don't need to
straight-
see.
They straight up
Didn't they have
depict-
Greedo?
Yeah, they did. They had a character. They had like a character that kind of looked like him. But basically,
Okay.
like the Middle East, they basically just made the Middle East Tatooine, which is like really funny. And then they have like a Jedi mind trick joke with because they have one character that's a psychic, so they just like kind of use the Jedi mind trick gag. But yeah.
I thought that was Gary who did it.
It was Gary.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
okay, never
was.
mind.
Because
never
he's
mind.
such a good actor, remember?
Oh, right, yeah, that was a joke because he's such a good actor. So he could like he does like a thing that's like a Jedi mind trick, but they just like believe his acting. So like, okay, that's a joke that's like funny regardless of whether you no Star Wars or not. So yeah, overall, give this movie a thumbs up. Recommend it, maybe 2 thumbs up. I don't know. I think it's holds up. It holds up better than I remembered it holding up. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
was
got
a
a lot
fun
of good laughs
watch.
out of it.
I already mentioned the movies that this kind of reminded me of. So yeah,
Same here. What about you, Lugia? Any movies spring to your mind?
Watch Thunderbirds. No.
Get high and watch Thunderbirds.
There you go.
watch like I don't know C Lab 2021. I don't know whatever the parody's called. What do you guys got planned for next week?
Well,
Whose turn to
that's
recommend?
Patrick's turn.
Patrick.
Right. Actually, hold up. Wait. Before we move on, I have one more thing I want to bring up. Lugia, you said that. Forgive me. You said your first exposure to Team America was a film professor showed it to you.
Yes, he showed us the montage song.
Okay. I can't say I've had a film class where this movie was brought up, but I can say for this next recommendation, this is a movie I have seen brought up in a film class, and I'm willing to bet you guys probably have too. For next week, we're talking about a film that's not incredibly old, but it has garnered quite a reputation and quite a legacy. Next week, we're heading back to David Fincher with The Social Network.
Ah,
I don't think I've heard of this.
It's
I
the
thought
Facebook
you were gonna
movie.
do Citizen Kane.
yeah. Wait,
Because
you haven't heard-
every film class talks about that movie.
you haven't heard of The Social Network?
No, I
Like,
haven't.
the Facebook movie.
Facebook.
No.
Really?
It's considered
This
like
was
the best.
huge back when it came out.
Yeah, it's considered like it's not only it's considered his best movie. It's considered one of the best movies of the 21st century. Like it is. This movie was like not only huge, it's still huge. Okay, that surprised me. All
No.
right.
Yeah, no, I've never heard of this.
Huh.
So wait, Red, I assume you've seen this movie.
Of course, I've seen this movie. David Fincher's
Okay.
like one of my favorite directors.
Okay.
I've seen all of his movies.
I'm curious because here's what I know about this movie. I know it's not accurate. It's not 100% accurate, and Mark Zuckerberg himself doesn't like it. So I'm just curious, based on that,
I did
how
my
it
research.
fares.
I did my research. It actually is pretty accurate. The reason Mark Zuckerberg doesn't like it is because it makes him out to be an asshole. But the thing is, maybe he was just an asshole and he's just not willing to admit it. Like
I don't know. Either way, we're looking at another villain origin story.
Yeah. No, it straight up is. Like the movie very much takes the side of his partner that he screwed over, not Mark Zuckerberg himself. I think it's interesting.
All right, Radical. You've really never heard of this before?
No.
How?
I don't know how.
There's like a lot of famous like quotes from this movie too. Like
But you
it was like
don't tell me you've
yeah,
never
I
seen the scene where Andrew
Andrew
Garfield
Garfield, like,
smashes a
smashes
computer.
a laptop. Whereas
That's
like
like the most iconic scene in the movie.
when I come back, I'm not coming for 10%. I'm coming for everything. Or like he's like, you can have part of my attention, the minimum amount. Or it's like so many iconic parts of this film.
I know.
I legit. This is like I don't know, finding out like you don't know like Brokeback Mountain or something. Where it's just like it's like one of the most popular movies of its time. Like how have you not heard of
I
it?
don't know.
The Mad cartoon made fun of this.
Yeah, I was just gonna bring that up. They did a parody of this.
I don't remember that either.
Jeez, all right.
That's
I'm gonna have
crazy.
to educate
Hey,
you
at
then.
least I can go in blind.
At least.
I guess, yeah.
Guys, what's going on with this podcast? I mean, first Lugia recommends this big adult puppet war movie, and here I am recommending a David Fincher film.
Yes.
Things are mixed up around here.
And this is right after a 1950s film.
Yep.
I mean,
And
that
a
seems like
1950s
something
film that we all
something
like.
Red would choose.
One day though, I'm gonna recommend like Kung Pao. All I recommend is like really like weird, kind of bad comedies or artsy films.
I don't know. Here, Red. Next week, choose a movie you never would choose. Something we wouldn't expect.
It's like I don't know, some random like movie from like the mid 2000s that like you kind of like vaguely remember, but like it's
Something.
not
So
like
something I would choose.
Turbo.
Pick something I would choose.
All right, let me think.
Either Turbo or Bolt.
Go full hoot on us. Pick something nobody remembers.
Oh, I got one. I don't know if I'm actually gonna recommend this, but I got one.
Okay.
Surprise us.
I'm not gonna recommend Oogie Love's Big Balloon Adventure though, in case you guys thought that, because I have brought that movie up several times. It's not going to be that because that's too obvious, and that's 100% the movie I actually would recommend because it's kind of bad.
You're going to at some point, aren't you?
No, probably not.
I'm
Actually,
just, I'm half
Really?
expecting it.
I
I was
generally like.
expecting it.
Listen,
I
all right,
no
if you have an
interest.
idea, go through with it. Don't be a
Here's the
pussy,
thing.
asshole.
No, here's the thing. I generally have no interest in ever revisiting that film. I just bring it up because it's just like insane that I ever actually watched it, like in
Why did you
theaters. Like,
watch it?
basically, me and my mom, we went to the movies, but the movie we wanted to see got sold out. So, and that was like the only other showing at the time, and like, my dad dropped us off, so we couldn't like just go back home. So we're like, all right, I guess we'll just like watch this. Like, fuck it, why not?
What
It's
was the
gonna be
movie? you
Oogie Love's a Big Balloon Adventure. It was literally like a movie made for toddlers. It was
No,
like
what is the movie you wanted to see that wasn't Oogie Loves?
let me check. What year was Oogie Loves?
2012.
Oogie Loves Big Balloon Adventure 2012. I'm just trying to think like what's a movie that I would have wanted to see in 2012 that came out in 2012. Oh, also I need to check out the date. Oogie Loves Big Balloon Adventures.
It was
East-
August. Don't ask me why I know that. I'm just good with dates.
It was late August though, so it was probably early September I caught it. 2012 movies, and I know there's a Wikipedia page that just lists like every film. Yeah, list of American films in 2012. Let's see. I know I saw Odd Life of Timothy Green, but and I Hope Springs. Man, I saw like a lot of movies out in August. I just saw like the most bizarre fucking movies. Yeah, like I started August with Diary of a Wimpy Kid Dog Days, and like the next week we saw Hope Spring. Oh, okay, I remember. I think me and my mom we had this idea for like that summer we were just gonna try watching a movie every week. Maybe it would have been like Paranorman. So I'm gonna say it was either Paranorman or Finding Nemo re-release. Yeah, that looks like those would be the types of things we would have seen.
Tell me, did you actually do the interaction with the movie that was advertised? Did you actually get up
Uh,
and do what they wanted?
like maybe like the first like times is like an ironic bit, but after a while I just got kind of tired and was like, okay, like just right, like after like the first like 20 minutes, you're just like, fuck this, like it's not something like a bit you really commit to, you know.
Uh-huh.
And like I don't know, like a month later, I saw Hotel Transylvania.
How are we gonna close this out?
Yeah,
Should we
yeah,
just, do we
I
want to do
forgot.
the speech or do we want to try something else?
Hey terrorists, terrorize this.